recording? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. There are many impediments to our progress. There are many things that stand in our way on this path. One of them, a very important one, is fear. For some reason, we fear what's going on. We fear outcomes. We fear the future. We fear what's going to happen next. We fear our interaction with other people. We have these great fears, and the anxiety that comes with these fears put us in a conundrum. They make us worry. They make us uneasy. They make contemplation and contentment impossible. As a Sufi, we should be brave, but fear makes us timid. We need to be brave in order to move on this path. And one of the reasons we need to be brave is it is so contrary to all the other belief systems that are out there. It does not stand alone. It doesn't claim uniqueness. It claims unity. It claims not division, but unity. It claims oneness. It claims Allahu Akbar. It claims La ilaha illallah, only God exists. And to be able to claim that only God exists means that you have to get over the fear of losing the self. And the fear of losing the self comes in many, many, many different ways. One of the ways it comes through is interaction with other people. When we interact with other people, we meet people who are toxic. We meet people who are impossible. We meet people who, when we are in their presence, they bring us from elevated states to diminished states. Why is that? What is it about them that brings elevated states into diminished states? What is it about them that doesn't allow you to be your true self? If you spend a lot of time with people who are like that, it will be very difficult to maintain the relationship with God and maintain the relationship with the truth, because to do that, you have to be clear. And when you're with toxic people, they confuse things. They bring doubt into situations. And the wise thing, of course, is to remove yourself from their influence. But then sometimes they want to continue to influence you. You have to be able to have the capacity to take what they have to give and not let it affect you, or you have to go back to erasing them from your contacts, erasing them from your interaction, erasing them from your interplay in the world. The world is full of people who are looking to bring you down because they are down. As an old saying, misery loves company. Well, just because they're miserable doesn't mean you have to be miserable. Just because they can't find themselves in a positive, content place doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to find yourself in a positive, content place. Doubt is out. Fear is out. We have to believe with all our heart, all our being, that Allah is merciful, that God is merciful, and no matter what is going on, we will be okay. No matter what is going on or what appears to be going on, we are in an appropriate place. No matter what appears to be happening, we can be the way we're supposed to be and follow the path that we're supposed to follow. Sufism is unique in its acceptance. It accepts everyone. It accepts all religions. It accepts all people. It accepts all ways. It accepts the unity of things. Now, this is at the highest level, but in the interim levels, we are subject to the vagaries of the world. We are subject to the influence of people's attitudes in the world. We are subject to the toxicity that they put out. And our capacity to handle this is limited. Our capacity to handle these kinds of things is dependent on how strong we are in our belief systems and how powerful we are in our ability to withstand toxicity and stay within contentment. This is an important thing to understand. We can, our capacity is only so much. The great sheikhs have enormous capacity. They take on everyone, and even they get ill from being with these people for a while and have to take a rest, but they're able to handle the toxicity and move forward. Normal men who are traveling this path can only handle so much, and we should realize that. And we have to know our own capacity. We have to know the extent of our capacity. We have to know how much we can take before we become toxic in reaction to toxicity, before we become put off and thrown out of our state. It's very important that we maintain our state. Fear changes our state. Now, as we get older and older, we become closer to death, and people fear death. But if they understand the nature of life, they'll understand that death is part of that nature, and that fear will dissipate. That fear will go away, and we'll understand that this is the next step in the progression of our being. But unless our faith is strong, we don't understand that. So we need very powerful faith. We need faith that's strong enough to withstand all of the insanity that the world offers. And the world offers as much insanity as you can handle. It never stops. Uh, I have been around toxic people, and I've been with them when they try to re-enter into the conversation, re-enter into the fold. But what I noticed is they never lost their toxicity. It wasn't within them to change. Their only uh, intention was to bring you to doing what they wanted. And you have to understand this, that usually those who are toxic are looking to somehow change you into what they want you to be, looking to change you into something other than you are. They're not looking to make you better because their nature is not to be better. Their nature is to be toxic. They have taken on the inappropriate qualities in this world, and they have become their qualities. Those are the qualities they become comfortable with. And once they're comfortable with those qualities, anytime you go near them, you brush up against those qualities. Arrogance, jealousy, vengeance, all of them come out, and all of them are thrown at you. And you don't realize they're being thrown at you because these people are subtle in what they do. Um, there was a psychologist whose name escapes me at the moment, but he wrote a book called The People of the Lie. And these people would go into therapy, but they would lie about their situation. They would never tell the truth, even though they went ahead and did the kinds of things that people do to try and get better. They weren't really trying to get better. They were just trying to stay where they were, even though they were doing other things. These people lied to themselves and to everyone else. Now, we need to understand, and it's very basic to our being, that anything other than God's qualities is a lie. So anybody who brings you anything other than God's qualities is lying to you. They're lying to you, and they're transgressing on your unity. They're transgressing against your wholesomeness. They're transgressing against your qualities. They're trying to change your inner peace into their inner turmoil. And they will bring you into their inner turmoil if you let them bring you into their inner turmoil. So if you have to deal with them slowly, and as they do the things that they do, if you confront them and tell them what they're doing, they'll get very angry and they'll probably run away from you. They're not going to be able to handle you telling them what they're doing wrong. They're not going to be able to handle you telling them about the qualities that are appropriate and the qualities that are inappropriate. The arrogance that these people have gives them the self-righteousness to think that they are appropriate in everything that they do. And yet they know they're not. But in the back of their minds, they think they are. Arrogance changes your perspective on things. Arrogance makes that which is wrong right. Arrogance takes you to places that you shouldn't go. Arrogance allows you to do things that you shouldn't be allowed to do. Arrogance tells you you know when you don't know. Arrogance tells you you're in control when you're not in control. And this is the biggest problem with arrogance. The fact that it makes you think that you are in control and you are able to manipulate the world. You're able to manipulate the elements to make them come out in the way that you want. Arrogance makes you think you can do that. And in truth, we can't do anything. We are subject to our Creator. And all that's done for us, with us, by us, around us, from us, is done from our Creator. It is all Him. There is no us. You know, man has the arrogance to write down what has gone on in the world and in the past, and they call it history. And the truth is, none of these stories matter. None of this history matters. The only thing that matters is his story, and you somehow finding out what his story is. And his story is available to you if you don't get overwhelmed by the world and its story. The world's story is so overwhelming and so full of contradictions and so full of different points of view that it becomes incredibly difficult to find your place. The world is full of different religions, and even though the prophets came with the same message, all of them came with the same message. What's happened is the prophets' messages got twisted and they somehow became separated from each other. There would be a separation between one prophet and the other prophet, and this led to conflict. It led to war. It led to difficulty. And this is part of the toxicity that exists between man. When man takes on religion and takes on the absolute religion as his, and with no room for anyone else to have religion, that's when toxicity happens. If everything needed to come through one prophet, God would not have sent 128,000 prophets into the world. But the world is a big place, and there was a lot of people to cover. So different prophets came in different places at different times, but their message was the same. All true prophets came with one message: God is one. Um, you all know Billy Graham. I was very surprised in a lecture that he gave once. He was in a Christian library, and he said, "This library exists because people can't understand God is one." So they started writing books about it, and then they started writing books about the books and books about the books. But it all came down that God is one. And if you could grasp that and understand that, then everything else falls into place. Unity is a concept that's difficult. The reason it's difficult is that we are elemental beings and we are divine beings simultaneously. Part of us is divine and part of us is elemental. The elemental part makes us look different. We have different colors. We have different races. We have different eye styles. We have different hairstyles. We have different body types. But if you look at us, we don't look the same. To the mind, which is caught in the world, the mind, which is elemental, has trouble differentiating between unity and the differences. So it can easily accept the differences. It can accept it quicker. They can accept the unity. And because of that, you end up with a caste system in India where everybody is separated and segregated and put into their own place and held in their own place where there's very little movement. One of the miracles of the West, not all of the West, parts of the West, is that no matter what your ethnic background, no matter where you come from, you have the opportunity to succeed within a society. You're not scratched. In India, for years, depending upon your caste, you were scratched from every other caste. You were only allowed to do what that caste could do. You were framed from the moment you were born into a certain place, into a certain time, into a certain way. And when that happens to you, when you're caught in being a certain way, you lose the faith that's necessary to have the strength that's necessary to break through your caste system, to break through your religion, to understand that God has no religion. And to understand that God has no religion is an enormous breakthrough for people. It's an enormous understanding that only comes to those who have clear vision. Everybody else sees separation. Even though God tells us there is no separation, they see separation. They insist on separation. And the ones who are toxic help spread this separation through the world. They try and separate everybody from everybody else. They don't allow contentment. They don't allow serenity. They don't allow peace to become the nature of the being. This leaves people in a state of anxiety, and anxiety doesn't do you any good. It doesn't take you anywhere, and it doesn't allow you to enter into the kingdom of truth. To enter into the kingdom of truth, you have to have surrender. And surrender means giving up your ideas of separation. Surrender means giving up all of your ideas that separate you one from the other. Giving up all the ideas that keep you aloof or keep you arrogant or keep you thinking that you know. You have to come to a state somewhere in your being, sometimes along your path, when you realize that you don't know anything. And everything that you know comes from God. Everything that you see is because God allowed it. Everything you have is because God gave it to you. The ones who are toxic would have you believe that things are gotten through their own manipulation of the world, and it's just not so. It's an inappropriate understanding of humanity, and their arrogance makes them insist that this inappropriate understanding is reality. It's not reality. We have to learn what reality is. Uh, I wrote a poem one time, and the last lines were recite to give up the need to resist, recite to give up the will to exist. If we can do that, if we can let go of ourselves and not hold our personality as this important element within the world, as if nothing could go on without it, if we can begin to understand that we need to go beyond that, then we will become whole. But it's only when we give up all of the external attachments that we have to everything in the elemental world that we can become whole. Otherwise, we're fragmented. We're fragmented into all the different ideas that the world has. We're fragmented into all the different opinions that the world has. We're fragmented into all of the different religions that the world has. We're fragmented into all of the different points of view that the world has. We're fragmented into all of the politics that the world has. We become attached to what goes on in the world. And what goes on in the world is of no consequence. What goes on in us is the consequence. And we need to be able to abide within ourselves and understand the truth of things from within us with God's help. And we need to understand that it's only with God's grace that we do anything and are allowed to do anything. God maintains, sustains, protects, and graces the world. And we must constantly pray that God maintains and protects us and helps us find the true path and the true way. It is the only way. People think that there are many ways to reach the truth, and there is only one way, and that way is through the divine qualities that are God. And we have to understand what those divine qualities are, somehow have them integrated into our being. And as we walk through life, no matter what the situation is, these are the qualities that we have to show and bring forth and live with and use to interact with the rest of humanity. So we're given a mandate. We're given a mandate of understanding, and a mandate of understanding that tells us God alone is real. All of this other stuff is illusion. Yet we hold on to the illusion stronger than we hold on to God. Why do we hold on to the illusion stronger than we hold on to God? Because we can't see God. And it's interesting that what we do see is not reality. What we see is illusion. What we see are temporary manifestations that exist for a short period of time and disappear. Every one of us is going to disappear. In 3 generations, nobody will know who we were. And this is the way it's been. This is the way it's going to be. So what does man do? He writes down what happened in illusion. And they use that as the story of mankind, as if it went on and on and on. And it doesn't. The world is not a stable place. The elements are not stable. We are not stable. The elements have, from the time of creation, been arrogant. The elements, when they were created, were arrogant. They were not divine. They did not come from that place of divinity that man comes from. They came from creation that it contained within it arrogance, and that creation was used to form man. So you end up with a man in a body that's made up of elements that are in conflict with each other, that are in constant conflict with each other. And they make an agreement to stay in unity for a certain period of time. And then as we get older, that contract falls apart. And the elemental agreement that held man together and kept him well and kept him healthy falls apart. And illness enters into man. And what is this illness? This illness is like earthquakes. This illness is like tsunamis. This illness is like hurricanes. It's just the elements within us erupting. And the elements within us erupting change our nature. They change us from healthy to unhealthy. They change us into difficult situations. But we have to learn to bear it. It seems that in old age, man has to suffer. Man suffers the denigration of the elements within his body. And this denigration, this falling apart, brings man closer to the reality that he can't exist like this forever. It's almost as if it were a sign that his time is coming to the end and he has to reconcile himself with that. It's like that. This life came with a death sentence. This life came with an end to it. This life came with a time span to it. And that time span is different from each of us, and it's what God ordains for us. And he doesn't tell any of us what that time span is. And we cannot imagine what that time span is. Although as we get older, we know we're getting closer to the end of that time span. So, like that, we need to maintain our integrity. We need to maintain our contentment. We need to maintain the qualities that are divine. We need to adhere to the qualities that are divine. And we must interact with all who we meet with those qualities. So, kindness and love and compassion and mercy have to be our way. Even though, as David said, we walk in the shadow of death, we shall fear no evil because God protects us. And he said that. He said, as I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. And we need to understand that God is on our side, and you must live your life as if God is on your side. God is not your enemy. God is your friend. The nature of things are not your enemies. They are your friends. The truth is not your enemy. It is your friend. So compassion is your friend. Mercy is your friend. Justice is your friend. Doing what's right is your friend. Anything that is from the other side, jealousy is your enemy. Vengeance is your enemy. People get a kick out of vengeance. They get a kick out of jealousy. They get a kick out of retribution as if they've accomplished something. But in fact, they haven't accomplished anything. They've only hurt themselves. That which you do unto others will be done unto you. Remember that you must stay within the confines of God's truth. We must stay within the confines of God's kingdom. We must stay within the confines of God's qualities. And if we can do this, we have nothing to fear. If we can do this, we will find our way to the truth, not by doing anything extraordinary, but by not doing anything extraordinary, by not involving ourselves in the world in a way that pulls us away from the truth. Our involvement in the world has to be in such a way that it brings us closer to the truth. Our involvement in the world has to be in such a way that it brings us closer to God. So we can't be doing things that bring us further from God. We can't be drinking alcohol. We can't be going to bars. We can't be philanderers as far as sexual relationships. We need to confine ourselves to that which is permissible. And if we confine ourselves to that which is permissible, we will continue to move in a permissible way. We'll continue to move forward in a permissible way. It's when we lose our way and take part in activities that are forbidden that we begin to harm ourselves. If we try to bring vengeance on others, vengeance will come to us. If we bring jealousy on others, jealousy will come to us. If we become vicious towards others, people will become vicious towards us. We must learn to be overwhelmingly kind at every moment. We must learn to be overwhelmingly loving at every moment, overwhelmingly just at every moment. And being in relationships, a relationship with the Sheikh shows you this. The Sheikh was consistent in his love for each of us. No matter how much we may have transgressed, he tried to put us back on the straight path as best that he could. He didn't judge us. He just directed us. And he tried to direct us in the correct way. And we have to take that on. We have to move ourselves in the correct way. It starts in the house. We have to love the ones that we're with. We have to be kind to the ones that we're with. We have to be helpful to the ones that we're with. We have to be just to the ones that we're with. There's no screaming. There's no shouting. There's just being. And discussing the qualities is not what Sufism is about. It's becoming the qualities. So it's not a philosophy. It's a state of being. And we must enter into this state of being. The state of being that's in tune with God's way. The state of being that's in play with God's way. We have to ask God that our actions are his actions, that our intentions are his intentions, that our way is his way, and that he take us towards him and into him. May that be where each of us goes, where each of us travels, what each of us becomes, and may it be so. God help us, God protect us, God grace us, God take us on the straight path. Ameen, Ameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.